Alright, hello everybody, Skyrim here, back again with another Diablo Immortal video. Alright, time to discuss Battlegrounds and possibly the new map. And I say possibly. Okay, this is all speculation. Certain things have made the rounds. I'm just doing this as a conversation piece, what have you. Let's get into it. But first, I want to get this out of the way. The nerfs, so to speak. The nerfs and the balance fixes that needed to happen. A lot of them were they had to happen. And I get why now that they really finally pushed through on, let's start with Monk, okay? Monk, the damage they did to structures in particular, I understand now why they had to get around to fixing this bug. And it was a bug. This entire time it was bugged for that excessive amount of damage. Now, I've already heard from some monks that the damage to the idols in the first phase, the guardians, not the idols, but the damage to the guardians in the first phase has been greatly diminished from what it was before, and hopefully on the Crystal Heart as well, because the way it was with that bug, it was pretty much one tap and then poof. So that's inexcusable. That should have never been. And coming back around to this, developers. This is why you need to play your own damn game. This is why you need to test things properly before they get released. I know that's a foreign thought in this day and age of, quote, early access nonsense, okay? And it's only gotten progressively worse. Early access, when it was first a thing, wasn't this bad. It's just degraded to where it is today. And I can go in, I'll save that for another topic, for another day. But I hope you get where I'm going with that. But bringing it back around to, in this case of Monk, of which everybody was all excited for, like, hey, monks are great again. After months and months of whatever, let us have this. Let us have our moment in the sun, which you did. But the problem was, it was a bug. And again, that's back on the developers. That's their fault. And that should have never been a thing. And with that, if that would have been properly tested and not released to the public, there wouldn't have been this feeling of loss. There would not have been this feeling of a nerf to such an extent where people are, obviously rightfully so upset and be like, well, okay, Monk's trash now. Now I gotta change classes again. And I was all happy with yada, 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 yada. That never would have happened. That never should have happened, okay, if you would have developers tested your stuff and found that that was a bug. But now you got caught with your hand in the cookie jar and you had to fix it because of, onto this topic, the main topic here, the new map, the new Battleground map. Now, mind you, let me get this out of the way too, I am not in the testing process of this. I heard not a peep from anybody over it. As a free-to-play player that's constantly PvP on the daily, I have plenty of insight to give on this, and it's unfortunate that I didn't hear anything from anybody any way, shape, or form. But, okay, we got that out of the way, right? Because this here is a conversation piece and nothing more than that. And that's where I'm going to leave it, right? So, as you can see, this is the speculative, grain of salt, new map, all right, in its design. Looks like we have a base at the red and blue circles, and we have a path to follow with, looks like, what to be an idol. Reading this earlier, it's either referred to as idol, cart, what have you. I'm getting a mix of Vanguard, Tower Wars, Alley of Blood, and the still idle two-lane push in the original Battlegrounds map, all kind of mixed together in various aspects. This also kind of is giving me a MOBA kind of feel in where you're going to be kind of multitasking and doing various things to progress your, supply line from the looks of things in this. You're pushing your supply lines all the way to, wreck the enemy base, which is, again, a Crystal Heart of some kind. This, in turn, brings it back around to how the monks' structure damage bug needed to be fixed for this reason. That's probably why they're like, oh no, we have to fix this before we release the new Battleground map, or else it's just gonna make it like, it's gonna make it a disaster. So yeah, they had to get ahead of that curve. But again, That's what happens when you don't play your own game and test your stuff. Hopefully you'll eventually someday, Blizzard and NetEase both, hopefully someday you will understand what that means to do such things. Track record, Blizzard especially track record, you guys have not learned yet, but NetEase, sort of. They've done better with Marvel Rivals, but then I've heard some things recently about that too. But anyway, that's another topic too. Okay, let's get into this here. I'll try to make this very, very quick and summarize this a bit better. Okay, you saw what the map was. Let's break it down. 8v8 teams, so you got basically, you're going to want a offensive defensive party, 4 and 4. But there's some loopholes to that even, because there is, we can see here, both sides advance on the other team's bases in the arrow direction of which we saw in the picture. Ka-chow. Okay. Same thing though, we're escorting idols. I'm not really a fan of this mechanic, and I really wish they would try to do something a little bit more unique, but whatever. It's what they know, I guess. Both sides advance with a guardian goddess. Okay, so idol at the arrow, they must fight and protect their own. Okay, so the idols can take damage apparently. So that's, I'm thinking it's along the lines of Tower Wars, or not Tower, Alley of Blood, in that sense, where they're constant. The guardians constantly are respawning and going down the lanes. They might be that way. They might have a bit more health, be a bit more, hopefully, tankier than that, so we don't have to wait for those respawns. But that's what I'm kind of getting the impression of. Core objectives: defeat enemy crystals. Requires your own guardian or idol, whatever you want to call it here, to destroy enemy bases. So yeah, of course, same thing still applies. You still need, in order to do damage, I think you have to have a guardian of some kind. So this is again Alley of Blood-ish, to where they have to be there to damage the crystal and soak the damage, because these crystals sound like they can do a significant amount of damage, which it says further down here. The crystal, the blue crystal, will actively attack the player. It must be destroyed by its own idol, guardian, whatever, at its feet. Again, weird translations here. That's just going to happen. There are contended bosses in the middle of the boss. Boss within a boss within a boss. That's hilarious. But so anyway, yeah, it looks like there's a boss. In this image, they use the Butcher. So, but it sounds like there might be more than one. The contended bosses in the middle of the boss. Translation's wild. After killing, you get a conqueror. You get a conquer buff, increase attack and reduces damage. So okay, you definitely want to be going for those as soon as possible, from the sounds of it, unless they have a duration timer on them. And the bosses sound like they might even respawn, from what I'm kind of trying to piece together here with reading this. Let's see, moving on. The crystals are extremely harmful, similar to the King's Crystal, where a single person dies in a near that I'm not entirely sure what that makes reference to, and again, that's weird translation. But yeah, so it sounds like you need to have, well, the problem this is, now I'm already seeing kind of a little bit of loopholes. If it is like Alley of Blood in the sense of these structures of which we're going to have to attack, where we had to have, like, you know, obviously we do reduce damage to structures when we don't have those guardians in Alley of Blood with us there to, you know, soak most of the damage, and then we're able to actually do more damage to the structures at that point. But we know the loopholes of which satyrs would go around with their immunity bubble and their satellite dish circles. That's still going to be, I'm sure, a problem that might need to be looked at some point. If not, hopefully it's being discussed already. I don't know. Again, I'm not in that mix, unfortunately. But I do hope they keep that in mind. So yeah, we're going to, I feel, still have that same unfortunateness when it comes to these particular maps. But only time's going to tell. I'm trying to stay as optimistic on this as possible. I'm just giving my initial thoughts, and as it kind of churns in my head right now, just going over this. For what information it's just kind of made its way out and is here. So just take it for what it is. Again, grain of salt. This is conversation piece only, that kind of thing. Don't look into it any further than that. We're just going to have to wait and see, the mass majority of us anyway. I just wanted to kind of, I don't know, I don't know. I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on various other things, and especially developers stop putting out overpowered bugs and then taking away from players and making them sour, and say it was a balance patch, you know, and a nerf when it never should have been. Again, I'm rehashing that point again. You see, I can't let off that, and I'm not going to let them off easy, and they don't deserve to be at this point, honestly. Anyway, back to this. Use the recharge or raid. Used to recharge. So I guess taking out the bosses in the center will recharge a buff. I'm guessing that's what that means. Recharging the buff. Yeah. Raid the enemy's back row to conquer the buff after gaining control of the boss. We gain control of the boss, or they mean defeating the boss, we get a buff. This is, again, all kinds of weird translation. It's a little rough. Significantly improving the cart's efficiency and survivability. So the idle or cart here that we're escorting. Okay. So there is strategy. There will be strategy to this. I guarantee you the player base will figure it out very, very fast. And everybody will have their assigned roles from here on out. But again, this comes back to the problem of class balancing, class distribution, more so. Class distribution in this case. Sounds like everybody's going to be scattered to the wind. Headless chickens running around, that kind of thing. Who knows? We're just going to have to, again, wait and see on this one. This is, again, still all speculation as to what we're going to expect. But yeah. Protect their own vehicles, break through enemy lines, attack group, and defense group stay at the crystal and conveyance points to intercept enemy assassins. Okay. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of running around, scattered. People need to actually still work together as teams, though, and hash it out properly. So this also goes back into Tower War situation where people are going to be scattered all over the place, and sometimes they don't know. They don't have the concept of what tower defense means in a lot of those matches, and it shows. So, interesting. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. And last note down here, keynodes, transfer point. Transfer point, yeah, that's the other thing. I don't know if there's going to be multiple spawn points along the way as you're progressing down your lane. That could be good or bad, or if it's going to work like Tower Wars to where you spawn next to the closest tower that you were last killed at nearby, that kind of thing. I feel like that's probably the good implementation of this. The crystal boss refresh point. Boss refresh point. So that sounds like they might respawn. The boss might have a respawn timer depending on how long the match goes on for. That's very interesting too. Hopefully they're not too long, because players will get bored very, very quickly and be like, this takes way, way, way too long to do anything with. Hopefully it'll have a separate, it's got to have a separate leaderboard. So they'll put that in too, but oh boy. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'm going to wrap this up here before I go on any further than what I already have already. So let me know what you think about the whole situation from start to finish in this, and all the points that I've discussed in this video from the start to the end here. So anyway, until next time, everybody, stay safe out there in the real world, and far as always, take care of yourselves as best you can, one day at a time. That's all we can do. Until next time, see ya.